Hi, Diana.
Oh,
Greetings.
hi. Hi, how are you, Jody?
My name is Jodé Millman, and I'm an author, and I'm a
Lovely.
reviewer for BookTrib. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and over the years, I've had the pleasure of reviewing a lot of Outlander books and Outlander related books.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
And I'm a part-time resident in the Outlander universe. I have to tell
Oh,
you
very
that.
nice. Well, I'm happy to hear that.
So I'm excited to interview you today in connection with the Santa Fe International Literary Festival. So
That's very
can we jump
exciting.
right
Yeah,
in? How's that
absolutely.
sound?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. In the Outlander series, you've created an incredible universe with wonderful characters and exotic locations and amazing experiences.
Thank you.
And Outlander has a life beyond the page
Oh,
with
I'm
conventions
afraid it does.
and travel. I mean, you've caused a one-woman boom in the Scottish travel industry,
Evidently so, yes.
and of course the Outlander series.
hmm
So your readers take Outlander really seriously.
Yes, they do, most of them.
And I wonder, how do you feel about that? And how do you
hmm
handle that?
Well, it's great. As for handling it, pretty much one at a time, as they come.
Has it affected uh, the way that you think about Outlander? I mean, you thought
No.
about it as a book originally, and now all of a sudden it's a universe.
Well, yes, but I mean, it's all still me.
So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about book 10,
Of course.
of course. And since February of 2022, you have been sharing excerpts from
Mhm.
the book. And whenever you've written other books in the series, you've been able to summarize them in one word.
Mhm.
What word would you use to summarize the upcoming book 10?
I'm not sure. It hasn't emerged for me yet.
Do
Yeah,
you,
I've only been working solidly on this book for the last 6 months or so. So, it's got a shape, yeah, but I don't know exactly what its distillation is as yet.
what can you tell us about it? Does it have a title? Do you know a pub date? Anything like that? I'm pressing you.
Well, my publishers have learned to their cost over many, many years not to set a pub date until I'm pretty close to being done. Because, they say, oh, it's going to be published, so and so. They never ask, and I'm going, no, I can't say when it is being published, but not then. You know, I don't write in a straight line and I don't work with an outline. I write in small pieces and they stick together eventually. And there is no way of predicting when they're all going to come together.
How do
And,
you edit a book like that that's not linear? Do you,
well, by the
that's how
time
you
you
do
come to editing
it.
it, it is linear.
I want to know the magic behind what you're doing.
Ah, well, I don't know exactly, other than to a degree, it actually is magic. But, you know, how you write a book is dependent on how your brain works. Some people are linear thinkers and some of us aren't. And it is kind of impossible to describe to someone who does write linearly what it is that you do if you don't. What I need to start on any given day. It's what I call a kernel, a very vivid image, a line of dialogue, anything that I can see or sense very concretely. And usually a few words show up with that. And I write them down and then I stare at it and I start moving words around, putting them back, recombining them, trying to create a sentence that's, clear and beautiful and gets across what I'm seeing in my mind. And while I'm doing that, the rest of my mind is kind of running through the possibilities. Where are we? What time of day is it? Where's the light coming from? Is there someone else in the room with me? If they are, who is it? And that sort of thing. And, so gradually, I'm a very slow writer. It begins to build up line upon line, word upon word, as they say. And, and gradually it shapes itself into a scene. Occasionally, I know what the scene is meant to accomplish before I start writing it. Usually I don't. And that it just sort of comes along. I have this one kernel. And that's not really the heart of the scene. It's just a point that it's where I can stick my toe in and make a little bit of room. And gradually, it's like having a large pile of building blocks. You don't look at that and say, well, I think that I will build, a steam engine or something like that. You pick up a block and you put it on top of another one, and then you think, well, that's a pretty one. You put that on top, and gradually your shape emerges. And so then I have a scene. And okay, at that point, it does have structure. It has a point. Something has happened here. I know who the people involved are. And so I'm saying, well, what happens next? If I know that, I can go ahead and write it. If I don't know that, I go and look for another kernel somewhere else. And so gradually I get these pieces. Now, at this point, with this much book behind me, as you might say, as much of the story, a lot of things have happened, and those things are going to affect the stuff that happens in this book. Sometimes it's going to, come to a conclusion or answer questions that were raised in an earlier book and not answered then. New questions are going to arise, of course, because these are people, and their lives are evolving all the time. So it's very organic. It's like growing crystals in your basement. If you have a jar of sugar solution, and you put a thread in it, and then you let the crystals grow all over it, and it's very pretty, but you can't predict ahead of time what it's going to look like. And so that's about how we work.
How do you remember everything? I mean, you've built such a massive universe.
Well, the human brain is amazingly elastic. You can cram a lot of things in there. Also, as I tell people, they say, well, how do you get all this stuff done? And I say, well, I don't do housework and I don't watch television. That saves a lot of time.
Well, I went on Facebook when I knew I was going to be doing this interview with you, and I went on the Outlander, the sites, and I asked everybody, what do they want to know? What was the burning question that they could ask you? And everybody wants
the next book coming out, yeah.
Well, they want to know if book 10 is going to be the final installment of the Outlander series.
Well, at the moment, I intend it to be, but things happen. When I started writing, I wrote Outlander for practice. I never intended there to be more than one book. I just wanted to see what it took to write a novel. And so I did. And, and then there was more. And they gave me a 3-book contract, and I wrote those 3 books. And as I finished the 3rd, I wrote to my agent and I said, well, I have realized that there is actually more to this story. And he said, well, they'll be happy to hear that. I said, okay. So they gave me another 3-book contract. And anyway, things just happened after that. So, I can't swear to it that this is the last book, but as I say, I intend it to be. I mean, I'm 71. I don't know how long I'll last. And we do need to bring it to some sort of sensible conclusion here. So, it remains to be seen. Let's put it that way.
So Starz just announced that they're going to be releasing season 7 on June 16th.
Yes.
And I know that there's been some talk about a prequel to Blood of My Blood. You've been involved as a screenwriter and also as a consultant. Are you going to be involved in that capacity for the prequel, Blood of My Blood?
Yes, I will.
That's exciting. Can you tell us anything about it?
No. No, they haven't got anywhere near beginning to write that story. We've talked back and forth, because for many years I've intended to write a prequel book, which has to do with Brian and Ellen Fraser, Jamie's parents. And, I've told people that over the years, which is what gave them the idea that they would like to make a show of it, in spite of the fact that that book has not yet been written. But, I have pieces of it. So they said, well, what can you tell us? And I said, well, I can tell you this, and this, but it's going to evolve. I am working on the prequel along with book 10 and so forth. I normally work on more than one project at a time. It keeps me from ever having writer's block. I started doing this way back in the day when I was still a university professor and writing freelance for the computer press for extra money. And so when I went up to work at night, I would usually have 3 or 4 windows open on my computer, and I would be working on whatever the job of the moment was for the university. And I would also be working on a freelance software review for Byte magazine, say, and I would have something from the novel that I was working on, which is Outlander at the time. And then the 4th one would be, just the daily correspondence. And, I would go back and forth amongst these. I'd have a grant review or something. And, I would just be writing something. And if it dried up, I would just move to the next thing. Don't waste time, sitting there going, oh my God, what am I going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going over there. And then while I'm working over here, and my mind is kind of turning things over. And by the time I get back to what I was stuck on, it's come unstuck. So, that's just, how it works. But, part of the secret, if you will, to writing successfully is figuring out how your own brain works and working with it rather than against it. And because, people read books about how to write, and basically it's not how to write, it's how this person particularly thinks you should write, or, it's what works for them.
Right,
And,
right.
and a lot of the people who write those books are linear thinkers. They say, well, you must do this, and you must do this, and you must do this. Well, okay, that's not going to work if your brain is, whereas a brain that goes, it's like needlepoint. It's going to come up with a really nice multi-dimensional picture, but you got to keep working at it. And it is not linear, but there is nothing magic about being linear. And just because someone says, well, I write in a linear fashion, doesn't mean you have to. Yeah. But, don't be fighting yourself all the time when you're working, is what I'm saying. Know how your own brain works and, take advantage of it.
And also how your heart works, because that's what art is all about, expressing your heart and your feelings, right?
Yes, exactly. Uh-huh.
And speaking of that, you are participating in the Santa Fe International Literary Festival. Can
Yes,
you
yes,
tell
I'm
us
looking
about your
forward to it.
participation? Tell us what you're going to be doing there.
I don't actually know. I just said I would do it. I think it
Well,
happens later this month.
so yeah, because I saw that they have
Mhm.
got an amazing all-star lineup, and you're one of these people, and that the popularity of this literary festival has really exponentially grown over the past 2 years.
I'm very
So
happy to hear that.
yeah, so it's going to be quite an event for you.
Mhm,
Good for
mhm.
you.
Oh, thank you.
So
Mm.
I'm good. I think our time is running out, but I'm
Oh, dear.
asking you one more question. I
Of
mean, I could
course.
sit here and talk to you all day because I love talking to you.
Well, thank you.
I want you to tell us one thing about yourself that people don't know, but that they would be fascinated to
Well, I don't know. I think everybody knows I run on Diet Coke.
know. You got an intravenous there, and they're pumping it into you, huh?
Really? Yeah. Well, if you're going to work in the middle of the night.
You have a very interesting writing schedule, don't you?
Yeah. Well, again, as I say, you work with yourself. I have always been nocturnal by nature. I've had for years and years and years, I would be forced to get up at 7 a.m., to go to school and all that. And I remember for years and years and years, I would sit on the side of my bed, sullenly peering at the world and thinking, one day I will not have to do this. And here, I don't have to do that. Yeah, screw 7 a.m. I'm not getting up. I'm going to work in the middle of the night because that is when I am happy and awake.
That's good. That's good. It's all that Diet Coke creeping up on you in the middle of the night, right?
Well, it gets you started. Coffee makes me sick, so I need some other source of caffeine, and this is it.
Well, Diana, it's really been a pleasure talking to you today.
Well, thank you very much, Jody. It's been lovely to speak to you too.
On behalf of BookTrib and myself, we want to wish you success at the Santa Fe Literary Festival,
Well,
and
thank you.
also continued success with Outlander and the Outlander series. And we
Uh-huh.
also want to thank the Santa Fe International Literary Book Festival for arranging this interview and our discussion today.
Well, thank you so
So,
much.
yeah, again, I hope we meet in person one of these days, and
I hope
you'll
so.
recognize me, and I'll recognize you.
Well, that'll be good.
And
Yeah, no,
thanks
I'm looking
again.
forward to it. Uh-huh.
It's been wonderful. Thanks so much. I appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.